Hello, my fellow subjects of the internet out there. This is the Aromantic Shipper back yet again with yet another video. And this week, I am going to be talking about Naruto. Believe it!
Believe it! Believe it! Believe it! So believe it! Then believe it! 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 I can't believe it!
That sure is a lot of believe it's, huh? Yeah, the voice actor really really had fun with that performance, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, we are going to be talking about Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, and basically, I want to give you some background on myself with this anime. So, Naruto was the first anime I ever watched, in actuality, and, it was when I was 13, I finally, sat down to watch it. I had caught some, anime on TV before, for example, Pokemon, which I despised. I, quit watching after 5 episodes. Pokemon anime is, so bad. Even when I was watching it at, 5 years old, I thought it was so bad. Some other anime I actually did kind of like, though. For example, does anyone remember Byakugan? Pretty sure that was an anime, but whatever. But yeah, I had seen some anime on TV before. I didn't actually know it was anime. But basically, when I was started to get into, watching YouTube, there was this channel I was really fond of, Screw Attack. They have the death battle stuff. And I watched this, Toph versus Gaara death battle, very inaccurate death battle, by the way. Gaara should have crushed Toph, but anyway, so yeah, I was a big Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, and, so basically I watched that death battle because I liked Toph, and Gaara seemed like an interesting character, and, the show he was from, it looked cool, it looked sort of similar to what they had going on with Avatar. Of course, I would later find out that, Avatar was, based on the anime style, so, I went to check out Naruto, and I basically, let myself be consumed by it, and, tried to watch, every single episode and stuff, but, so basically, I became a Naruto tard and became obsessed with the anime, and, watching through all of it on Hulu. Sorry, have a bit of a sore throat, but anyway, so yeah, I became a big fan of Naruto, but I wasn't able to finish it in the end, because, well, first of all, the anime wasn't quite finished yet when I was watching it. And the thing that happened was, I just, new episodes were coming out every week, but I was not able to continue watching the series, because, it just got so boring, by the end of it. Basically, the point where, I stopped watching Naruto was, it was basically at the point where there was a bunch of fillers in the Infinite Tsukuyomi arc. So, basically, I just stopped watching Naruto by that point, because it was just oh my gosh, the story is going nowhere. It's not finishing. It's just so I couldn't keep up with it. Eventually, I started watching another long-running shonen series, Dragon Ball Z, all the Dragon Ball stuff. Became interested in that. Then I moved on to other anime later. So that's my journey of an anime fan, I guess. I left out the cultured parts, but anyway. But, yeah, but finally, in the year of 2021, I finally, went back to the Naruto anime after, 5 years, and actually finished it. So now, in the year of 2022, I'm going to be doing a massive, colossal review of the entire Naruto series, and basically what I think about all of it, filler included. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting, and, let us just get to it, because we've got a lot to get to get through. Jeez, I can't talk. Anyway, yeah, let's get to it. Let's talk about Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, beginning now. Okay, so first off, we're going to be talking about the Land of Waves arc, the first arc in Naruto, and also everything leading up to it. So that includes all the all the stuff with Kakashi and Naruto and Sasuke, all that stuff that happens before they actually go to Land of Waves. Anyway, so let's talk about the first episode of Naruto. It's shit. I hate it. Anyway, so yeah, the first episode of Naruto is not very good. I will say I did not like it when I first watched it. I don't like it now. Basically, the whole thing revolves around this kid Naruto who is like this loser in society who's like discriminated against everyone because he has the nine-tailed fox inside him, and he's also like a flunky who can't pass the ninja graduation exams and has like failed 3 times, even though he's the same age as the other students who graduate, so that doesn't make any sense. He should be like 3 years older than them, so that makes no sense. But yeah, anyway, so basically this Mizuki guy, I think that's what his name is, basically tells him to go steal this ninja scroll, and if he does, he'll be like promoted to graduation, but he lies to him and basically manipulates Naruto into stealing the scroll, and somehow Naruto was able to steal the scroll despite being like a genin with no talent, and not even a genin yet, but yeah, and for some reason Mizuki couldn't like do it himself and had to get Naruto to do it, and it makes no fucking sense. And then at the end, Naruto just creates all these bajillion shadow clones to beat the shit out of Mizuki like a chunin. And how the hell was he able to create all those shadow clones in the first place? How did he learn the technique, which is like a Jonin level technique, so incredibly quickly? It makes no fucking sense. It's just it's not a good episode at all. It's not a good episode to start the series off on. The second episode is honestly worse. It's basically about Naruto finding this kid who is not very likable called Konohamaru, and they basically go to pornography stores and buy pornography, and then Naruto saves the day with pornography at the end by creating a sexy harem shadow clone jutsu to defeat this Ebisu guy, this asshole Jonin. Yeah, it's jeez. Can't clear my throat. Jeez. Anyway, it's not a great second episode. The third episode is about poop jokes, where Naruto has ate some curdled milk, and there's a lot of poop jokes, and it's this love triangle between Sakura and Sasuke and Naruto, and there's a bunch of 4th grade humor about like Naruto and Sasuke. Oh, they kiss. It's so funny, and whatever. I don't like it. Honestly. Yeah, so the first 3 episodes of Naruto, not very good at all. Don't really like them. But, however, things definitely pick up in the 4th episode of Naruto, and that is all because of a particular character whose name is Kakashi Hatake. And I really like Kakashi, honestly. Like, he's just a really cool character, and he's, like, the only character of the main 4 that is, like, never annoyed me in the series. He's just, like, seeing... oh my gosh, jeez. Anyway, seeing Kakashi come in and like basically there's this whole Genin exam where the kid characters have to like come in and steal bells from him, and seeing him just like wreck everyone's shit and just like basically roast all of them for how terrible and annoying they are. It's just like it's so incredibly funny. Kakashi is awesome, and him just like basically reading this book while he's like trouncing all of them. It's really funny, and like it's a really cool scenario too. I will say though, in episode 5, the way the bell test gets resolved makes no sense. Like, why would Kakashi like let them become Genin? Because they learn teamwork and stuff, and not really. There was like one single instance of like Sakura and Sasuke like giving their food to Naruto, and like that's not really teamwork. That's like the beginning of them maybe learning a lesson. And like and Naruto doesn't even learn anything because he doesn't give his food to anyone. He's just tied up and not doing anything. It's just makes no fucking sense why they became Genin in the end, but whatever. So that's the resolution of the bell test. Still cool. Kakashi is also obviously awesome. So yeah, having him in the series, in addition to these kind of annoying brat kid characters, is definitely a glow up, I would say. Anyway, so then we get to the actual main plot of the arc in this first 19 episode stretch of the series, where basically this bridge builder named, I think his name is Tazuna, he basically hires the Genin along with Kakashi to go on this mission. I don't really understand how here's one thing I don't understand. I don't understand how, like, these missions, these low-level D-rank missions that the crew goes on, like, where they're basically finding neighborhood cats or walking dogs or whatever, like, how do those qualify as missions? Like, is it just... Honestly, it would be so hilarious if the Hokage was, like, just saying, oh, hey, these aren't community service, these are actually, like, missions to go on, and it's really cool, kids, and that would honestly be funny, but it's never confirmed, so... I don't know, but anyway, they go on an actual, like, C-ranked mission where they're trying to protect this bridge builder Tazuna guy, but it turns out it's a lot more than they bargained for, and they have to deal with this, really powerful, Jonin-level threat, named, what's his face, Zabuza, Zabuza of the Blood Mist, and, then, Kakashi and him get into this fight, and it's kind of cool, but it's also very dragged out, which is, there's a lot of unnecessary padding in a lot of these fights in Naruto, where, like, there's a lot of flashbacks in them to, like, things we've just seen, a lot of, like, standing around. It's just a lot of that, and the animation can look somewhat, it's obviously when the series was starting out, but the animation can kind of look somewhat janky, not really the best, but overall, the fight against, the first fight, anyway, against Zabuza and Kakashi is cool. It does give us a sense of, okay, what's, like, the power level of these really, top-level guys compared to the Genin. Don't understand why Naruto doesn't just create, like, 100 clones to just beat everyone up like he does in the first episode. Like, it really seems like Kishimoto, like, sort of strangled himself with that first chapter where, or second chapter, I don't know which it was, but really feels like Kishimoto really, really didn't make a very good decision making Naruto that overpowered in, like, the first episode of the series and you're constantly questioning, why doesn't he just create a fuck ton of shadow clones, like, all the time? It's just, whatever, but anyway. Also, another thing I have to mention, Sakura is completely useless. She does nothing throughout this entire arc. Like, you could have replaced her with a piece of wood and literally nothing would change. I mean, she literally contributes absolutely nothing. Like, literally nothing. She's so incredibly useless. Like, oh my gosh. But anyway... So, then we get to, like, after they go to this village, we get into a second fight between, Zabuza and, Kakashi, which is not as good as the original fight, in my opinion. It was really broken up by a lot of the fighting between Haku and Naruto, and what's really ridiculous to me is that in between the fight against, Naruto and, Haku, and also Sasuke as well, there's, like, this whole episode where most of it is dedicated to a flashback and, like, the narrator announcing what we've already seen in this arc. Like, it's really not a good sign when, like 16 or so episodes in, like, there's this whole episode which is basically just a flashback of everything we've seen. It's just, it's very not good. It's very not good. Anyway, the fight, is obviously dragged out in a lot of other ways. Like, there's a lot of, there's a lot of standing around, there's a lot of padding, but I will be honest, the fight does get good by the end of it, where, like, Naruto, like, transforms, into the Nine Tails after he thinks that Sasuke has died, and, like, not transforms into him, but sort of releases some of the Nine Tails chakra, and it's a really epic, like, moment where you first see this time where Naruto's, like, getting really angry and releases some of the chakra, and, like, the voice actor for the dub, where, she just is like, I'm gonna kill you, like, that honestly might be my favorite voice acting moment from the woman who plays Naruto in the English dub, because, I've watched the dub. But anyway, that was great. The ending with Zabuza basically going ham and, like, becoming Demon of the Mist and just, like, wrecking all of Gato's thugs and taking him out. That was awesome, absolutely, and, like, the animation on that was really cool. So, like, the ending of this fight is pretty cool, but it's just, like, there's tons of padding where it just feels like nothing's really... it just feels like the entire fight and the entire story is really padding out, so didn't really appreciate that. So, overall, this arc, it has good points, it has bad points. It's definitely, I don't really like how the anime, basically treated it with, obviously, padding out the story a lot. It could have been trimmed down by, like, 5 episodes, honestly. But, the thing is, what's weird to me is that, why didn't we see more arcs like this in the Naruto series? Because it just kind of... The first arc in Naruto kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, because we never really see this again, where, like, the characters will go to this other village and try to, like, where it's basically this whole world building thing where we see Naruto from the point of view of, like, ordinary citizens who, like, you know, the people in this town aren't, like, ninjas or anything, and just, like, regular people. And we never really see this again. Like, we never really, the entire rest of the series is always, like, hyper-focused on, outside of filler, of course, it's always, hyper-focused on, like, on the ninja and shinobi, you know, ordeals. So, I just sort of wish we got more of these arcs, honestly, even though this arc definitely wasn't my favorite. So, anyway, that's what I thought of the Land of Waves arc. Anyway, now that we've got the introductory arc out of the way, now we get onto where the story really picks up, which is the Chunin exams. Part 1. I'm going to be talking about Part 2 in a separate, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, so basically this is the arc where Gaara is introduced, you know, where he is competing in the Chunin exams with everyone else. And, yeah, Gaara, he's the reason I originally went on to watching the series, because of the death battle. And, yeah, he's a pretty cool character. He's pretty awesome in this series, and he's definitely a glow-up. And so, yeah, anyway, other characters that are introduced in this arc, Lee is introduced, and honestly, he seems like a pretty cringeworthy character at first, like, really over the top, but he actually ends up being, like, one of the best characters in the series, legitimately. So, yeah, really liked Lee and how he is introduced. The other thing we have to talk about, though, is, like, can we talk about some of the comedy in this series? Like, you know, in the first episode of the Chunin exams arc, where it's sort of like, you know, building up to the reveal that the Chunin exams are happening, there's a lot of comedy with, like, Konohamaru and Naruto and, like, Sakura, and, like, a lot of it is really not good, because, like, the jokes in this series, like, a lot of them go on for too long, and just, like, are really dragged out, and just, like, I don't know, a lot of the comedy in this series, I don't really like it. It's just, like, not really very funny to me, because, like, the jokes just, like, go on too long. It's just, like, we don't need, like, an entire, multi-minute segment of, like, this joke going on for so long. It's just, like, I don't know, I just, like, there are some funny moments in this series that work, but it's just, like, a lot of the jokes just go on for too long, and they just, like, get really stretched out, and it's just, like, I do not enjoy it. I think a lot of this comedy is, a lot of the comedy in this anime is really cringe. But anyway, back to the actual story of the, so basically all of the characters, like, they decide to sign up for this Chunin exam, and we finally get some more focus to some of the other, like, genin who were really shafted in the first arc, where they basically weren't present at all in the Land of Waves arc. But now we actually get, like, basically all of them present in this Chunin exam, so that's kind of cool. The first written portion of the Chunin exam, where basically all the characters have to cheat to pass the test, and that's actually a pretty interesting scenario, and it's, like, sort of goes into this whole, like, ninja have to be good at gathering information and that kind of thing, and, you know, so that's a pretty interesting scenario. I will say, though, like, it's complete bullshit how Naruto was able to pass the exam, like, literally without answering a single question. He does nothing, and he just passes the exam anyway. It's just, like, I don't know, it feels like, to me, like, Naruto, like, he just gets way too many free passes. Like, he just accomplishes all these things without, like, basically almost putting in no effort. Like, for example, like I said before, in the first episode of the series, like, he creates all of these shadow clones to beat up a Chunin, and, like, basically he learns this Jonin level technique with almost no effort. And then, like, in this episode, or in this arc, he passes the Chunin written portion of the exam with, like, no effort whatsoever. It's just like, it's just like, I don't know. The dude gets too many free passes in this anime, I would say. Then basically, before we get to the Forest of Death, we have this really cringy filler episode where Konohamaru and his friends are, like, reporting live from the Forest of Death. Yeah, remember that episode? It's just, like, also, the other thing I have to say is, what is the technology in this world? Like, it seems so weird that, like, these characters are, like, using, like, these chakra communications and, like, hawks to communicate, but, like, there are, like, telephone poles and, like, DVDs and, like, cameras, and, like, I don't understand this. The technology in this world is so confusing. I don't understand why, like, Kishimoto, like, introduced, like, modern-ish technology into this world, and then, like, you know, had them using a bunch of ninja magic for stuff. I just don't, it doesn't make any sense. Why couldn't there just not be modern technology in the Naruto world? It doesn't really seem to add anything in the end, and you could have just made it like a period of Japan in, like, hundreds of years ago, that stage of technology. But I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Anyway, then we actually do get into the Forest of Death stage, and honestly, like, it's really good. The Forest of Death stage in the tuning exam is like really intense. I just love how it goes from like 0 to 100 very quickly, where shit just gets real in this stage, where Orochimaru basically is introduced in the Forest of Death, and he's like trying to find Sasuke and stuff, and it is absolutely terrifying. Orochimaru, when he is first introduced, is like, oh my gosh, it's so fucking terrifying. He's like, it's just, he's such a great villain, not because he's like the most complex villain, but he's just like so incredibly scary and has this presence of like, and he comes out of nowhere too, because you don't expect it. Like because in the tuning exams, it all seems like it's going relatively normal so far. There are going to be these exams, and these guys are going to have to fight other ninjas. And, like, Gaara has been introduced as, like, and Neji, I guess, to a lesser extent. Like, they've been introduced as, like, oh, these are the guys you really have to watch out for. But then this Orochimaru guy just comes out of fucking nowhere and completely stomps, like, Naruto and Sasuke, like, with almost no effort. And it's just like, crazy how much of an iconic introduction this guy has in the series. Anyway, and the fight between Sasuke and Orochimaru, it's pretty good. It has really great animation, and really missed the old days when Orochimaru was actually a really terrifying villain and not a goofy comic relief character running away from bugs. Yeah, really missed really missed those days. Anyway, so then basically after Naruto and Sasuke get like squashed by Orochimaru, Sakura has this moment where she's trying to defend her friends against everything in the Forest of Death, and honestly, to be fair, it's like, in this arc, she does get more focused in the last arc, Sakura does, than where she basically did nothing at all in the Land of Waves. And, it's kind of cool trying to see her, like, care for her friends while she basically doesn't have anyone to protect her. And, so, I mean, it is cool that she is sort of forced to survive on her own. Some people say, like, the moment of cutting her hair was, like, kind of dumb. Like, oh, she could have, like, stabbed the girl who was holding her in, like, any other place. And, yeah, I get it, okay? Like, cutting your hair is not exactly, like, the biggest sacrifice. I did kind of like it, though, as a symbolic meaning of, it was sort of supposed to symbolize Sakura, like, letting go of, like, the past and the things she used to obsess about. It's so, like, the problem with it is that, like, she doesn't really change or develop that much for, like hundreds of more episodes, and it's just like, so that is really bothersome, definitely. But, so basically, after everyone tries to, like, take down the Sound Ninja, obviously we get an introduction to, Sasuke's curse mark and the power you can, do with that, so that's cool. And Gaara basically, like, crushing people to death in the Forest of Death, like, that was really fucked up. That was something we got to see from Gaara, obviously a really terrifying villain. Basically with him, it was honestly kind of censored in the anime, where, like, the blood was made the color of black, I guess, because, showing red blood would just be, like, too much for people getting, like, crushed to death. And, I don't know, bit of anime censorship, but it's still really fucked up. Anyway, the Forest of Death, honestly, like, it does drag a bit, to be quite honest, like, by the end with, Naruto and his team fighting all these clones for a while, and it just does go on for a really long time, but eventually they do get out of the Forest of Death, which was a pretty cool scenario, and we get into a tournament arc, and the tournament arc is pretty great. There are a lot of really great fights in this. I do question, though, like, how there can be... Here's the thing I question. Why is it that there's so many Chunin in this world? Because it seems like it's incredibly difficult to become a Chunin in the first place. Like, they were saying, basically, in this tournament arc, where basically they were saying, oh, like, there are, like, basically 20 of you left, so we have to, like, conduct these preliminary rounds, because, like, there's too many contendants for Chunin. So basically that means that, again, only 10 of these Chunin are going to go to the final rounds at most, and, like, only some of those 10 contenders for Chunin are going to become Chunin from how good they're judged. So, like, if the Chunin exams happen, like, every year, or, I don't know, maybe it's every 6 months, but either way, if the Chunin exams don't happen very often, and, like, only maybe 5 or 10 Chunin are selected every time, how is it that there's so many Chunin? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, it seems like it's incredibly difficult to become Chunin, but it's just like this common thing that, like, all of these adult ninja are Chunin. It doesn't make any sense. So that's one thing. That's one thing I take issue with, I will say. But anyway, like I said, the preliminary exams are pretty great. like there are lots of great moments, lots of great fights, like, getting to see the Sand Ninja kick a bunch of ass, 10-10 being useless as always. The Ino versus Sakura fight, that was definitely the lamest one. Like, I just don't understand. Why couldn't Sakura just win that fight? And, like, then, she would have been preparing and, like, training to become stronger in the finals and, like, learning genjutsu or stuff, which the show keeps saying that she's like a genjutsu type and she knows how to use genjutsu, but she never uses genjutsu and she never trains with genjutsu. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, yeah, there are some good fights. Some of them do drag a bit, I will say, but like the Gaara versus Lee fight, obviously the highlight of the Chunin exams and the preliminaries. Like that fight is so awesome and iconic for a reason. Great animation, great music, like Gaara and Rock Lee, both amazing characters. Like, we don't know a lot about Gaara by this point, but he's just, like, a incredibly terrifying and fucked up and, like, unstable villain. And so watching him fight against Lee is just really cool. I don't understand why Choji versus Dosu was the last fight. Like, why was Gaara versus Rock Lee the next to last fight? That would have been, like, so awesome if it was, like, the last fight to watch. I don't understand why Choji versus Dosu doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so yeah, so overall the first half of the Chunin exams, arc, I really liked it. Really liked everything. Well, not everything. Like, the first part wasn't the most interesting, but, like, straight after Orochimaru gets introduced in the Forest of Death, everything just really picks up, and I think it's really interesting and really good. So yeah, this arc, pretty good, and the other thing I haven't mentioned yet is the opening that plays for this arc, the first half of the Chunin exams, it's really good. It might be my favorite Naruto opening, quite honestly. Just great music, great animation, great everything about that. So yeah, that's what I thought of the Chunin exams part 1. Alright, so now we're moving on to the Chunin exams part 2, where basically it starts off where everyone is trying to basically train for the next fights that are going to happen in the finals. So basically what happens here is Naruto basically starts out training with Ebisu Sensei. He comes back, and but he doesn't last long because we get a new trainer for Naruto, which is Jiraiya Sensei. And honestly, when Jiraiya Sensei was first introduced, I didn't really like him very much. His character obviously has to deal with a lot of, like, perverted humor, which, it's just not really very funny to me, because, like, perverted humor can be funny, but I feel like the way that Naruto, like, portrays it, and, like, oh, hey, look, this guy, like, really likes naked women, it's so funny, like, I don't know, it just isn't very interesting or funny to me, and, like, also, Jiraiya does anyone remember how Jiraiya was, like, kind of a creep? Like, does anyone remember that line where he was basically saying, like, oh, hey, Naruto, you have quite a tight and sexy body, like, and again, this is when Naruto wasn't doing the sexy jutsu, and he was just, like, a shirtless 13-year-old kid, and it's just like, oh, what the heck was that? It's like, that was really weird, really creepy, but anyway, so, yeah, not the biggest fan of Jiraiya when he was first introduced. Don't really like him. But, there is sort of some interesting stuff where basically there's this whole thing about where he's trying to perfect the summoning jutsu, and, really kind of useless since he doesn't even use the summoning jutsu in the actual Chunin exams, but whatever. Anyway, so as it goes on, basically where Naruto is in the hospital after, like, his intense training with like the Gamabunta, the frog. Basically, there's this whole episode that is shot kind of like a horror movie where Gaara goes into the hospital and tries to kill Rock Lee after his failure to kill him before. And it's just like, it's really scary and really good, and I love the way this episode was shot. So that is definitely something I really like. So anyway, so then we actually get to the finals of the Chunin exam, and I'm pretty sure it's filler. But there's this whole sequence where Naruto is trying to get to the Chunin exams with Konohamaru, and like Konohamaru saying, oh, go this way, it's a shortcut, and it's just like, and he keeps running into all these obstacles, and like by the end he's running away from these bulls, and it's just like, it's not really very funny. I don't understand what the point of it was. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's filler, but I'm not quite sure because I haven't read the manga, so like, but just screams of filler to me, so kind of lame. But anyway, so we actually after that we actually get to the Chunin exams where Naruto is like, so his first fight is against Neji, and I gotta be honest, I didn't really like the Naruto versus Neji fight. It's kind of lame. Honestly, there isn't really very much that's creative about it. It's just very standard. Neji fighting against a bunch of Naruto's shadow clones, just like basically what happens in it, obviously, it's Naruto, so there's a bunch of flashbacks back to Neji's past. And then we see Neji, like, completely demolishing Naruto in every way, like, closing up all of his chakra points, which I believe, shouldn't that have, like, almost killed Naruto? Because we saw when Neji was fighting against Hinata, where basically he was doing major critical damage to some of her organs. So I don't really understand that, but anyway, basically, again, Naruto, in my opinion, just him basically winning the fight too easy. What he basically does is so basically what happens is he unleashes the Nine Tails chakra, which is able to open his chakra points, and like he fights against Neji, but isn't quite able to beat him. But then he uses like trickery with a shadow clone to basically get the jump on Neji, and beat him into submission. But what I don't like is that, like, Naruto defeats Neji with, like, literally one punch. He's, like, the one punch man, and, like, Neji is, like, completely demolishing Naruto throughout the whole fight, and, like, Naruto just beats him with one punch. Like, really, Neji didn't have any fight left in him after that one punch. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, I don't know, it just feels like he wins the fight too easy. Neji was definitely, like, a much stronger opponent than Naruto, and, like, I don't know, it feels like, if I don't know, it just bothersome to me. I don't really like the fight between Naruto and Neji. Just never really been one of my faves. But anyway, then we get to the Shikamaru fight between him and Tamari, which is just, oh my gosh, that fight is legendary. Like, even though there's not a bunch of actual fighting in it, like, Shikamaru, he's a fucking legend, man. Like, I love Shikamaru. I've always loved Shikamaru. Just, like, his whole attitude of, like, not caring, but also being, like, a savage and, like, using his intelligence to win these fights. And, like, and I love how, like, he basically beats Tamari by getting her into, his shadow clone lock, but then at the end of the fight, he's just like, yeah, I give up, I'm too tired. It's just like, oh my gosh, that was so funny. I loved everything about this fight. Shikamaru is awesome, and like, yeah, anyway, so love that. And then we get to Gaara versus Sasuke, and the fight is pretty cool, and like, obviously Gaara is like really terrifying in it, where he's just like, where he's just basically in his, he basically creates a shield around himself where it's just like, something is about to happen, but it's just like, you're not exactly sure what, and it's just like, after, Sasuke uses his Chidori to basically pierce Gaara's armor, and it's just like, he's screaming about him finally drawing blood from him for the first time. It's just like, terrifying, where he unleashes this arm that pulls Sasuke out of it. It's just like, yeah, it's a horror movie, oh my gosh. Anyway, but, so that was really terrifying. And anyway, after that, of course, the Chunin exams are put on pause, where we get this whole attack from Orochimaru with the Sand and Sound Village against the Hidden Leaf, and it's pretty cool. I will say this, so the fighting against Hiruzen and Orochimaru, it's like kind of cool how we get to see the previous Hokages who are like the first Hokage. It's so weird because, like, it's portrayed as, like, the first Hokage is just, like, this regular Kage, whereas in the future we find out, like, the first Hokage is, like, the god of shinobi and stuff, like, where he's, like, so much more powerful than everyone else. And, I'm guessing the author Kishimoto didn't exactly, have those plans for the first Hokage in this fight, because it just seems like, regular Hokage on the same level as the second, but whatever. Anyway, so, the fight is kind of good, but I will say, it doesn't make any sense to me why Hiruzen's shadow clones were able to seal the souls from the reanimated Hokage. Like, shadow clones have souls that they can use for the Reaper Death Seal? That doesn't make any sense to me. How was he able to do that? Whatever, but, whatever. Anyway, so then we get to the, Gaara versus Naruto and Sasuke fight, and, Gaara, again, continues to be completely terrifying in this fight, just a really scary, villain, like, with him going through his, transformations, and just, like, becoming more and more of this monster over time, like, I will say, though, like, again, it is kind of, like, Naruto was basically destroyed in this, in his fight between Neji, and he got, like, incredibly injured, and his chakra level was, like, going down to 0, and then he just, like, gets in this fight with Gaara where he's able to, like, match him and become, like, Kage level, arguably, and it's just, like, I don't know, again, it just seems like, Naruto is, like, doing all these things that he shouldn't really be able to do, just, like, I don't know, it feels like, like I said before, it feels like Naruto is a bit of a Gary Stew. I don't know, that's just how I feel, because it feels like, Naruto, the main character, just, accomplishes all these things and like does all these things. I don't feel like she should be able to do it with the amount of effort he's put in. But anyway, whatever. So basically, we get Gaara's super sad backstory about how like he just had like the worst childhood ever, like worse than Naruto, like where he was basically hated by everyone, and he was also like tried to be assassinated, and he was told like his mother like never loved him, and like oh, that was fucked up. Like, oh my gosh, Gaara, what the fuck? He needs therapy. But anyway, so basically, Sakura's also in the fight, I guess, but she's does absolutely nothing. She just stands there and becomes damp and stressed as usual. But yeah. So anyway, in between the fight between Naruto and Gaara, we also get a fight between back at the fight between Hiruzen and Orochimaru. They're like still on that power struggle where Hiruzen is trying to pull out Orochimaru's soul, and it's just completely ridiculous to me because it goes on for like 10 episodes. Like, why did we need to see like 10 episodes of them in that power struggle? Like, and I get it, obviously other stuff is going on in between that, but why did we need to see like, why did it need to keep cutting back to it and have us like going through that whole power struggle between them? It's just it goes on forever. Just oh my gosh. Anyway. So that is something that bothered me. It's just like it feels like no progress is being made whenever we cut back to those two. So after their fight ends and they get into that whole power struggle with their souls. But anyway, so basically, so yeah, this arc I would say the second half of the Chunin exams, which is sort of like I guess it's also half of it is the invasion of the Leaf. So. But anyway, the second half of the Chunin exams arc, I don't think it was as good as the first half, where everything going on with the Forest of Death and like the tournament arc, where again some of it does really drag with some of the fights and Hiruzen and Orochimaru locked in that power struggle. But I will say the ending of this arc I think is really really good. I think it does really build to an effective climax, like Hiruzen sacrificing himself against Orochimaru and like not being able to completely defeat him, but definitely taking part of his soul, which for some reason like destroys his arms. I don't get it, but whatever. His whole speech about the will of fire still burning, and the ending to Naruto and Gaara's fight, where Naruto basically he finally wins out against Gaara and is like headbutting him. That was a great end of the fight, and just like his whole speech to Gaara about how he was able to save himself from becoming like him, and just like really just everything about that great. Like just really like Gaara as a character, really like everything going on with him in this arc and his whole resolution. I really wish, honestly, it is really cool how by the end you can see that Naruto's words have kind of changed Gaara, and he's becoming like him saying to his siblings finally like saying I'm sorry for everything I did, and like that was cool. I really wish Gaara's like redemption arc was shown on screen rather than just in 2 arcs from now we see him come back and he's like sort of a good guy basically, and it's just like I don't know, that sort of bothered me. I wish we saw like more of Gaara and his development on screen to be sort of redeeming himself. But yeah, anyway, really good arc, really good arc, really good ending, and not really good. Like I said before, I had some problems with it, but anyway. Definitely some good stuff, and did like the ending. So yeah. Anyway, that's what I thought of the Chunin exams part 2 of Naruto. Now we are moving on to the 4th arc of the series, the Sannin arc, as I like to call it. So this is the beginning of this arc is the introduction of the Akatsuki, which is pretty great. Like we definitely get a sense of just how powerful the Akatsuki are, and like just immediately after seeing Orochimaru, who's just like this incredibly powerful villain, we find out that they're like these villains that are like there's a bunch of them, and they're almost as powerful as him or equally as powerful. Of course, we would find out that a lot of them are more powerful, but of course we get the image that launched 1,000 memes with Itachi holding up his brother Sasuke, how that transformed into a bunch of shit. But yeah, anyway, the introduction of the Akatsuki is pretty great in this arc. I like how we also get a sense of like how even now Itachi is like there's sort of foreshadowing to how Itachi was sort of a good guy, with how he was saying to Kisame, oh, we better run away from this Jiraiya guy because he's really powerful, even though Itachi and Kisame, they were like definitely on Jiraiya's level. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So then we move on to after that how Naruto is basically training with Jiraiya to master the Rasengan, and I like how he actually has to master the Rasengan and train a lot for it, rather than how he basically mastered the Shadow Clones in literally a fortnight. No, sorry, he didn't master the Shadow Clones in a fortnight. He mastered it in like 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it's cool how Naruto has to train to master the Rasengan, and his solution is legitimately clever, and he has a lot of clever moments like that. So here's the, I like this arc, the Sannin arc, but the one thing I never got about it was Orochimaru's plan doesn't make any sense. I mean, how is Tsunade supposed to heal Orochimaru's injuries when his injuries are getting some of his soul ripped out? That doesn't make any sense. How does he expect Tsunade is able to heal something like that? I don't get it. She was having trouble healing Lee's injuries, which are physical. How the hell was Tsunade supposed to heal Orochimaru's soul getting ripped in half? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't get that. But in the end, like I said before, I still do like this arc. It focuses on Tsunade, who is honestly just a really great character, one of the really only great female characters in the show, because, the show doesn't really have the greatest female character writing, but yeah, I really like Tsunade, and it's weird because when she's introduced, she sort of just seems she's the big boobied fan service anime character, but no, she's actually really cool, and she has this great backstory that is sort of tied in with the themes of the show, and wanting to become Hokage, and how she sort of was pessimistic about the whole process because of how her loved ones died, and her whole arc of trying to come to terms with that, and sort of stepping up as an actual leader, and yeah, I just really like Tsunade in this arc, and she's just one of my favorite characters in the series, honestly. So yeah, like that aspect of it. The ending fight between the Sannin was pretty cool, where we sort of got to see. It's weird because the fight between the Sannin, it's really cool, but it's also at a point where all the Sannin are kind of weakened, where Tsunade was sort of weakened by what Kabuto did to her, and Jiraiya was drugged, and Orochimaru has some of his soul ripped out. So you get a sense of wow, these characters really powerful, and you're watching them going at it. But these are they have the potential to be much more powerful. So it's pretty cool to see. Oh, this is only a taste of the power that these characters can put out. So yeah, that was pretty cool. It's a relatively simple arc. It's just mainly focused on first the Akatsuki get introduced, then Naruto trains, then then there's this fight between the Sannin. But like I said, it's cool. Also, in regards to there's some filler here as well that happens, where basically this is one episode where these guys kidnap Naruto and want to ransom him for Tsunade's debts to them. I don't really like this episode. I think it's a missed opportunity, honestly, because it goes into sort of how basically Tsunade is sort of she's definitely a very flawed character, and she has all these gambling debts that she hasn't paid off. So that might be again that might be brings up an interesting idea of, oh hey, this character is kind of irresponsible. Maybe she should try to deal with all these personal issues before she should become Hokage. But then, no, it turns out that, it was all a misunderstanding, and Tsunade had already repaid her debts to those guys that were, kidnapping Naruto. But, there were other people out there who she hadn't repaid her debts to. So, that's never really addressed, but whatever. So, anyway, we also get some more filler where, after Tsunade gets back to the village, this Konohamaru is, basically worried that, now that she's Hokage, everyone is going to forget about his grandfather. And even though it's filler, and even though it deals with fucking Konohamaru, who I don't really like, I actually think it's really interesting, and I really liked that subplot. I thought it was yeah, I don't know. I just really felt for Konohamaru and how he was dealing with this sort of trying to move on from the previous Hokage, and how he was scared of everything changing. And I actually like that. I think it was a really good bit of added anime material. So yeah, actually thought his character was kind of interesting in that in those episodes. So yeah, that is basically what I thought of the Sunny arc. So yeah. And now we get into some fillers, so got to talk about that. So basically, there's this one episode where the crew is trying to find out what's under Kakashi's mask. So this whole episode basically is just this like comedy episode where they're trying to discover what's under Kakashi's mask. And honestly, it's kind of funny. Like, normally I don't really like Naruto's humor and kind of cringeworthy at points, but I like it's related to Kakashi, so that automatically makes it better. And like them just trying to find out what's under his mask, and him just like completely trolling with them the entire time, like that's really great, honestly. And there were a lot of funny moments in it. And the one thing I really didn't like about the Kakashi mask episode, though, was there was these villains who were introduced like halfway through, who were trying to like get revenge on Kakashi, and they were just like so incredibly unfunny, and I really didn't like them. So that was one issue that I had with it. But overall, the Kakashi mask episode was honestly like, yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of a cool break and stuff. But then we get into the Land of Tea arc. That was the one with this kid named Idate Marino, who was like running a race. I found it pretty boring. I don't really care about Idate Marino. I didn't really care about anything going on. Basically, the whole point of the arc was like Naruto finding this person who was like sort of similar to himself, in that like Idate Marino was like kind of a screw up and like made this mistake where he like was manipulated into stealing something by another character who was like sort of like in the first episode how Naruto was basically manipulated into stealing the scroll of sealing. So I don't know. I just didn't really care. Another main point of the arc was to make Sasuke like even more jealous of Naruto and his abilities, where he saw like how his Rasengan was like really powerful, and his Chidori didn't do much against like the lightning blade that this villain guy had. But I don't know. I don't really see how that was necessary, because like it could have just been that Sasuke became jealous of Naruto basically directly after facing his brother Itachi. So I don't really understand. This arc didn't really seem to have much of a point to me. I didn't really enjoy the filler arc there very much. So that's what I thought of the filler arc, Land of Tea. So yeah. And now we finally get on to talking about the fifth arc, which is the Sasuke retrieval arc. So basically in this one, obviously, Sasuke is getting jealous of Naruto because he feels like sort of inadequate and stuff. And they finally get their first fight on the rooftop, and it's pretty cool and stuff. But then basically afterwards, Kakashi is basically trying to tell Sasuke, you need to forget about revenge, and it's not worth it. And like, here's the thing. Here's what I have to talk about, because I don't understand why the Obito flashbacks, basically, the Kakashi Chronicles, where we see in Shippuden, that are just placed so randomly there. Like, why weren't they placed here, where basically Kakashi is talking to Sasuke, and it would have been a very fitting place to see into Kakashi's past and stuff. But no, they're just like placed randomly in the Sasuke revenge arc in Shippuden. So I don't understand that. But I'll get to talk about that later. But anyway, so yeah, Sasuke basically leaves the village, and Sakura is useless yet again, because she basically says, "Oh, Naruto, it's all up to you, because I couldn't stop Sasuke," and like she never once even like asks to help. I just whatever. Just yeah, Sakura being useless always. But yeah, so basically we get on to the main thrust of the arc, which is the battles that happen between the gang that Shikamaru sets up to retrieve Sasuke, and Orochimaru's henchman, the Sound 4 ninja, or I guess the Sound 5, as we later find out. So, yeah, I mean, like, this arc is good and some of the fights are genuinely engaging, but like it does definitely drag at points where like basically it just there's all these flashbacks with all these people where like basically when Choji like it's getting to the end of his fight, there's just like a bunch of flashbacks back to scenes we've already seen of him. Then like Neji, we've bunch of flashbacks by the end of his fight, and just like I don't know, there's just a lot of flashbacks in this arc, and it just like really, in my opinion, drags down the pacing. But in regards to the actual fights and the quality of them, the first one is between Choji and that guy. I don't know, I can't remember his name, but basically the fight's fine, I guess, but like it's definitely the least interesting of the fights for me. The other thing I have a problem with is like basically the only reason that Choji is able to stand a chance to the fight is because he's like popping pills and eating those eating those special chakra pills, and like I don't like that because he's basically just doing drugs in order to win his fight, and it's just like didn't really like that aspect of it. Sort of felt it would have been more. It would have felt better if like Choji was able to win that fight without like drug induced assistance. So I don't know, didn't really like that aspect of it. But yeah, the next fight, Neji versus that spider guy, is like awesome. That fight is really good. It's honestly like so much better than the fight between Neji and Naruto. It's like great animation, great battle tactics, and with him like trying to figure out how to defeat him from a distance, where it's just really great all around, and it's like has this turns into this great climax and this amazing moment where I don't know, it's just like this moment where like Neji is struggling to fend off the spider guy's attacks, and then he just goes 128 palms. It's just like really like that moment. Anyway, really like that fight. Thought it was really good. And then I will say one of the things that's really interesting to me is like I love how Orochimaru's whole journey to like him trying to get Tsunade to heal his arms was like completely pointless in the first place, because like he just switches bodies and then is basically fine and he has workable arms again. So again, this is like again, like I found that whole plotline of him trying Tsunade to fix his arms in the first place was really weird, because like how do you fix having half your soul ripped out? But like apparently it didn't even matter in the first place because he just switches bodies and it's fine. So don't really get that. But again, anyway, and so yeah, basically so basically after that, Shikamaru basically gets paired up with this Genjutsu girl, and like as always, Shikamaru is awesome. Like him doing these battle tactics to try to keep himself alive, whereas Kiba, he's fighting this guy who can split into two and stuff, and it's a fine fight, honestly. It does drag a bit, but yeah. Anyway, so then basically what happens is that the sand ninja basically come and rescue our boys in their fights when they're definitely getting when they're definitely not really being able to handle it. I will say I don't really understand how why wasn't Shino the one to come instead of Kiba, because like it went back to basically Shikamaru ended up getting his ass saved by what's her name, Tamari, because they fought each other in the tournament, but Kankuro ended up fighting Shino. So I don't understand why he ended up coming along and saving Kiba, whereas he didn't really have any connection to Kiba, so I don't really understand that why Shino didn't come instead. Where is my man Shino? He didn't get enough focus. Like, we need more Shino. He's definitely more awesome than Kiba. But anyway, and Lee, who ends up fighting Kimimaru, ends up getting saved by Gaara, and the fight that breaks out between Gaara and Kimimaru, as always, is awesome. Love Gaara, love a lot of his fights, so yeah. But then we get into the main thrust of this arc, which is, of course, Naruto versus Sasuke. But, of course, not before we get into a lot of flashbacks with the Uchiha. And here's my problem, because, like, the Uchiha flashbacks are definitely interesting. There's a lot of, interesting stuff going on with Sasuke's past. But, like, in the previous arc, in the Sannin arc, when Sasuke goes to confront his brother, we see a good bit of the Uchiha flashbacks and, of the Uchiha clan being slaughtered. And all those flashbacks are just repeated here. Like, why were they even all shown, like, so much of them in the previous arc? If you're just going to repeat them all here, I don't understand. You just repeating flashbacks so many times. I just don't, my gosh, it just bothers me. It's just dragging out the pacing and, but then we actually get to the, fighting between Naruto and Sasuke, and let's be real, it's a good fight. It has a lot of really cool moments, and the ending, of course, which, the final Chidori clash, that was just a really great emotional moment and payoff to, the arc. And Naruto, failing to bring Sasuke back, that was a really neat twist, honestly, because when I was first watching it, I was like, okay, Naruto is going to bring back Sasuke. Of course he's going to succeed. He's going to end up, bringing him back and stuff. But no, Sasuke actually, goes off and continues to stay with Orochimaru. And that was a really great twist on it, honestly. I didn't really expect that. But, yeah, glad it happened, because it opened up a lot of really interesting stuff to do with the narrative going forward. And a lot of tension, because, there was this possibility that, Orochimaru was going to steal Sasuke's body in the future. But anyway, then Naruto basically gets back to the village. I don't understand why couldn't Sakura have, gotten over, Sasuke by this point, when he basically becomes, again, a traitor to the village and almost kills Naruto, and, but Sakura's still interested in him, I guess. So, yeah, that's it. So basically, that's the end of the arc, and that's pretty much the end of part 1 of Naruto, in canon, anyway, because we are definitely not done talking about the Naruto first part, because we've got... Let's get ready for filler! So yeah, for whatever reason, in the Naruto anime, there's still, 80 filler episodes left before we can get onto the actual story that's left, and, yeah, it's definitely a lot of different arcs. So all of the filler arcs that happen in the ending stretch of Naruto include, the Land of Rice arc, the Mizuki Return arc, the Bikochu Beetle arc, the Kurosuke arc, the Gosenguki arc, the Cursed Warrior arc, the Demon of the Ocean arc, the Buried Gold arc, the Star Guard arc, the Peddler arc, the Third Great Beast arc, the Geno arc, the Yakuma arc, the Gantetsuku arc, the Menma arc, and finally the Celestial Symbols arc. And it's why did we need all these? Why did the anime, choose to, after, the Sasuke retrieval arc, rather than moving on to, the next arc of, the Kazekage retrieval arc, just focus on, 80 fucking episodes of filler, and it's so, why? It's so frustrating. It's what was the point of all these fillers? And, obviously the point was to basically, buy time, so... Obviously the point was to buy time so that more manga material could come out, and, that, the animation studio could, get, caught up with that kind of thing, but, again, it's just, why didn't you just take a hiatus? Why didn't you just take a fucking hiatus to, prepare for making, the animation better for when you do the next arcs and get onto Shippuden? It's just, why did you have to do all these, why did you have to do all these fillers? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Just take a fucking hiatus. Seriously, it's just, take some time to, get prepared for what you're gonna do in the future, rather than making all these fillers. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, oh my gosh, it's so fucking frustrating. It's telling that I could barely remember the plot of half of these fillers, despite watching them twice. And yes, I watched through the entire, 80-episode filler stretch twice. Once when I was watching it in the first place, once when I was rewatching it, and, oh my gosh, it's so fucking frustrating. And I get it, because here's the thing, with, it is weird, because, on the one hand, it is useful with, all these fillers just bunched together. It's definitely easy to skip, or you can just, if you're watching the anime, you can just go on to Shippuden and pick up there and just skip all these fucking fillers, but, it's definitely hard to get through if you're watching the entire series, like I was, just watching all these fucking fillers, and it's just, it's so incredibly frustrating, because, for me, I don't skip the fillers, I just watch the anime, every single episode of the anime, and it's just, because I feel if you have episodes, you're not supposed to skip them, they're produced, it's just, oh my gosh, and the arcs, they could have been somewhat interesting, and, expanding the lore of the series, but they're just plain filler, pure and simple. They don't impact the story at all. Like like I will give it credit. Sometimes the arcs do try to flesh out the side characters somewhat, like giving more characters like Hinata or Tenten or Lee some focus, but nothing really comes of it. Nothing really matters in the end because it doesn't really relate to anything that happens in the future. And here's the thing, because there are a lot of aspects of Naruto that would have deserved more focus than they got in the manga, but the story just but Naruto. The thing is, Naruto just has the worst kind of anime only content, where rather than enhancing the story that is actually being told, it just goes off and tells a completely different story about all these random unimportant things and all these things that are happening in the world with and it's just it doesn't matter in the end because it relates to nothing that in the actual story. And why didn't we see more of the Akatsuki? Why didn't we see more of the other tailed beasts? Or the other villages or the Foundation in all these extra episodes that were produced? Things that actually end up fucking mattering. Why didn't we see any of that? Why did we go off on all these random side stories that don't mean anything? It's just oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Why didn't we see Gaara becoming, Hokage, rather than this useless side mission with him? Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Oh, okay, this has nothing to do with fillers, but, almost nothing to do with fillers. But who's supposed to be the Kazekage while all this is going on? It's so weird to me. Why is Gaara the 5th Kazekage when, what was going on that entire time when, there was no Kazekage before? Gaara was, sent on a mission to help the Hidden Leaf, but, who was Kazekage while he was being sent on that mission? Who was Kazekage when he was going on that whole arc where him, fighting these, celestial symbols guys? Who was Kazekage then? What? Who was Kazekage? Why was there, the Hidden Leaf, went to find the next Hokage immediately in Tsunade, but, why was there this massive stretch of time where, over a year where there's no Kazekage? It doesn't make any sense. Oh my gosh, so that doesn't make any sense to me, but, yeah, anyway. So, back to the actual fillers, though, it's just, the stakes... What bothers me so much is, the stakes in these episodes are so low that Naruto, doesn't even use... We never even see him use the Nine-Tails chakra until 37 episodes into this filler chunk. It literally takes him that many episodes to actually use the Nine-Tails chakra. That gives you a sense of how low the stakes are in these episodes. And, the other thing is... Weird thing that happens is, in episode 176... There's a moment where Naruto's ramen gets stolen from him, and he gets so angry that he has enough Nine-Tails chakra to make more shadow clones than he ever produces again in the series. Apparently, the time when Naruto makes the most shadow clones ever is when his ramen gets stolen from him. Who knew? Yeah, anyway, but, some of the one-off, disregarding the arcs of, there was this whole arc where, Mizuki, the villain from the first episode, comes back, and there's, this 6 or 7 episode stretch of him just being the villain, just why are we seeing this? So what is the point of it? But some of the one-off episodes, disregarding the actual arcs, some of the most cringe-worthy fucking shit, some of the worst episodes of any anime ever produced. There's this one episode where this Onba beast attaches itself to Naruto like a parasite. What the fuck was up with that? Then there's this one episode Shino gets drugged with laughing juice, and it's just laughing the entire episode. It's very, very uncomfortable. I wanted to see more Shino, but not in that way. There's this one fucking episode where with this Elvis Presley knockoff, I'm dead serious. It's so dumb, and there's this whole plot line with this woman who basically needs Ino to stand in for her because she looks like her, but she's fat and she doesn't want to appear fat in front of her new husband, who is the Elvis knockoff. And there's this whole moment where Naruto is transformed as Ino, and he's pissing in front of the screen, and it's while transformed as a girl, and it's just what the fuck is happening? And then there's this other episode where there's this episode about a ramen cook-off, and it's not good, and it ends with all the girls in the world lining up to eat diet ramen. I don't know, these two episodes they have some very weird harmful messages about female beauty. Like, I don't understand why it's like fat shaming so much, but whatever. Yeah. Anyway, this is one episode where like Naruto is trying to take care of this spoiled rich asshole kid. It's so terrible. It's like money style jutsu, and like, oh my gosh, so bad. Like, some of the just like a bunch of the filler like characters we meet in these episodes just like so incredibly uninteresting and bland, and like have terrible designs that are uninteresting. Like it's uninteresting. I don't care about like any of the stories being told. There's this cringy fourth wall breaking episode where Naruto and Sakura host a television program. It's bad. Like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So is there anything to like about these like this 80 plus episode stretch of filler? There are. I think probably my favorite arc was, there was this one arc where there was this architect guy named Geno who had like basically stolen blueprints of the Hidden Leaf and was like playing this game with the characters where he was making them all think that he was going to like destroy the village, the Leaf Village with planted explosive tags. It was honestly a really fun and interesting scenario with this Geno guy. Like, I love how where it was basically this whole mystery where the characters were trying to figure out. Shikamaru is integral in the plot, so, you know, that's obviously a plus. And, like, basically the characters were trying to figure out what was going on, and it was, like, a trap on top of a trap on top of a trap on top of a trap. And I honestly really liked the arc. It was pretty interesting to me, and I was definitely, interested the whole way through. So I did like the Geno arc. The Demon of the Ocean arc, it's kind of interesting. It has Anko in it, which is, great because I like Anko and wanted to see more of her. But, honestly, she was a wasted character. She should have gotten way more screen time for sure. The Starguard arc where, it was dealing with this characters basically based around this meteorite, which was giving people like more chakra to use. It was kind of interesting. I honestly thought it was kind of laughable that the villain thought he was going to like stand a chance against the other villages. Like, he was going to be a great ninja village, even though like have you seen the hacks abilities that other people have in this world, dude? Like, even with your meteorite powers, you would not have stood a chance whatsoever. Like, seriously. The final 5 episodes with Gaara, his whole arc where he was basically going up against these celestial symbols guys, where his student got kidnapped, I think. It was not nearly as interesting as the Sasuke retrieval arc. And like the villains are so lame. Like, I do not care about them. Again, I don't understand who is the Kazekage at this time. They never address it. That like there's still no Kazekage, and like they just, oh my gosh. But yeah, like I don't know. It's like not the worst filler episode. It's not the worst filler arc ever. But why did we have to end off on this arc? This ending on the Sasuke retrieval arc, like that was definitely the best place to end it. But for some reason the anime just stretched out to like 80, 85 more filler episodes. So it's just like it's terrible. I don't like it. And it was very painful to sit through. So yeah, that's basically what I thought of the filler stretch at the end of the original Naruto. Not the best, definitely. Alright then, now we're getting into Naruto Part 2, where basically it's it handles everything in the first third of Shippuden. So let's just get to it. Let's talk about getting into Shippuden. So first we got to talk about the first arc, which is obviously the Kazekage retrieval arc. And like I said before, it still makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense why Gaara is the Kazekage. Like, him going from a person who was like hated in his village to Kazekage so easily, it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense why like no one was Kazekage during that like 1 year period where Gaara was like going out on missions trying to help the Hidden Leaf, and like who was Kazekage during that time? Like I said before, it doesn't make any sense. That's like a massive plot hole that like no one ever talks about it with the series. But yeah, anyway, so now we finally get on to Shippuden, and I gotta say, like, some of the new music introduced in Shippuden is like really good. I haven't talked about the music in Naruto up until now, but like I think Shippuden introduced a lot of new music that is an improvement over like some of the old tracks that were played in the original Naruto. So that's really cool. It's definitely really impressive what they were able to do with the music and sort of like heightening it, where like there's just a lot of these really awesome tracks that are real bangers that, it's also immediately obvious that by the time it gets to Shippuden, the animation has taken a massive step up, despite it, the animation never really made any marked improvements in the filler stretch at the end of Naruto. In fact, in a lot of ways, the animation went down because, it was focusing on filler and it was just like very low quality stuff. But again, it's cool. Like, I guess the filler stretch gave them more time to dedicate more animation to the beginning of this series and Naruto Shippuden. But again, I don't understand why you had to do all the fillers in the first place. Why don't you just, like, take time on a hiatus to prepare everything for the start of Shippuden? So, it doesn't make any sense. Like I said before, it doesn't make any sense why anime was produced like that in the past and, like, in some anime now. But whatever. Anyway, so this arc, the Kazekage retrieval arc, it starts out pretty strong. Like, I love the Deidara versus Gaara fight. It's really good and really tension-filled. And the Naruto and Sakura versus Kakashi fight, I don't know. I don't know if that was in the manga, but, like, if not, it was still really great. Like I said, I'm not sure, but I think there's, like, whatever. The Kakashi versus Sakura and Naruto fight was really cool. We got to see sort of how they had matured in their fighting skills, and I really liked the resolution of that fight where basically Naruto, he basically tries to spoil the ending of, the book that Kakashi is reading, and that's how basically they defeat him. That was honestly really funny, but yeah. Anyway, so like I said, the arc starts out really strong. Deidara's power, like, it does sort of, jump the shark a little, because, like, he basically, we're going from a story about, like, ninjas and stuff to, like, people who can, like, level a village with a bombing technique, and it's just like, how the fuck is Sasori a stronger opponent than Deidara, when Deidara can literally blow up a village, no sweat? It's like, that doesn't make any sense to me, but, yeah, so Deidara is really cool. I love how, like, not giving a shit his attitude is, where basically Gaara destroys his arm and he's just like, oh, how inconvenient. Well, better get on this. Just like, love that aspect of Deidara, but yeah, like I said, his power does kind of jump the shark, honestly, but yeah, anyway. But Gaara, as always, is a great character, and I love how much care he ultimately got for, like, the village that despised him, and, like, his whole moment of, like, trying to make sure that the sand that he brought up didn't crush the village, even though he was, like, out of strength and got captured for it. That was really cool. So, anyway, the other thing is, like, Sakura in this arc is, like, really cool, honestly, and, like, we joked about her, like, being useless throughout this entire time, like, yeah, basically almost throughout the entire part 1 of the series, like, Sakura is just really useless and doesn't really contribute anything. But in this arc, she's honestly really useful and, like, contributes even more than Naruto to the arc, and that's really cool. And it's like, Lady Chiyo, awesome too. She's a new character that's introduced, and she's really cool, and for whatever reason, Kishimoto is just, like, unusually good at writing female characters in this arc. So yeah, the fights that break out between Itachi and Kisame are kind of okay, honestly. I thought they did drag somewhat, like, but yeah, they're fine, I guess. It is, not as awesome as it could have been, honestly, because Kisame and Itachi are, like, at dedicating 30% of their chakra to those battles, so yeah. So honestly, the main problem with this arc for me is, like, it starts off very strong, but it just, like, massively drags by the time you get to the ending stretch of the fight, and, like, the fights just go on forever. There's basically this whole episode, like, there's this whole filler episode where Team Guy is fighting against copies of themselves, and, like, it's so boring and uninteresting, because, like, they're not fighting against legitimate opponents, they're just fighting themselves, and, like, the animation gets, like, so cheap during that stretch, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And it's just like, obviously the Sakura and Shio fight versus Sasori, it's definitely kind of cool. There are some really cool moments, but it drags as well, because, like, there's this entire episode of Sakura and Shio just talking to each other, where they are, like, supposed to be fighting Sasori, and it's just, like, this entire episode stretched out of them talking and discussing battle tactics, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Meanwhile, Naruto and Kakashi just chase Deidara through the same repeated frames of animation for, like, 10 episodes. Like, literally them just chasing Deidara with, like, nothing really happening, where basically they're just chasing through this valley with all these wooden, like, things holding it up, and it's like, it's so boring. It just stretches out for so much time, and it's just like, the other thing that bothers me is, like I said, Sakura gets really interesting in this arc and really useful, but Naruto, meanwhile, like, he doesn't do a whole lot. Like, it's just kind of lame, too, because it looks like that training with Jiraiya, like, didn't accomplish all that much. It's just like, Naruto, like, doesn't really do all that much, except for, like, being able to hold a larger shuriken, which does nothing as usual because Shur can never do anything in the series for some reason. But yeah, anyway, by the end of the arc, Naruto, we see a bit of him going sort of going out of control before Kakashi stops him, and Deidara survives, so that's really cool. I love Deidara. I thought he was dead when he first exploded himself, but it turns out he does survive, which is great because Deidara's awesome, and I really liked that he survived to be pompous some more in the future, and Gaara also survives. Basically he gets brought back to life by Chio, which is just, yes, I love Gaara as well. He's really cool. So yeah, this arc definitely could have been, like I said, I thought it started out very strong, but sort of just did drag by the end. I do like it, but it's definitely not the best of the series, honestly. But it was a cool starting point for Shippuden, and definitely got me interested. So that's what I thought of the Kazekage retrieval arc. Now we get into the second Sasuke retrieval arc, also called by many people the Tenchi Bridge arc. This is where basically the characters Sakura and Naruto and stuff are going to try to track down Sasuke once again. And not really a big fan of this arc. Honestly, I don't really like it very much. Honestly, I think it's definitely one of the lesser arcs in the series, in my opinion. So basically, Yamato and Sai are introduced in this arc, and they're potentially interesting characters, but they just don't really do much of anything particularly interesting with them after this arc. What was the real payoff of for example, Sai? He's sort of an interesting character where he's this person who basically conceals his emotions and tries not to feel anything because he's convinced himself that he's just this tool of Danzo and the Foundation, and that's kind of interesting. But what was the real payoff of Sai's relationship to Danzo? There isn't really a whole payoff to that because Danzo, just dies from Sasuke, and the Foundation sort of just dropped after that. So that is something that bothers me. I really didn't think that Yamato and Sai were really well utilized after this arc. So yeah, and I don't know, the arc just basically what happens is they go to this Tenchi Bridge to try to meet Kabuto, but Orochimaru basically shows up and challenges them. And, there's this fucking entire episode of Naruto and Orochimaru just having one giant, long stare down on the Tenchi Bridge, where nothing happens, and it's just a stare down between them, and it's my gosh, people say, Dragon Ball has dragged out stare downs. It's just this entire episode of them staring each other down and not doing anything. It's just oh my gosh, it was so fucking boring to sit through. And then we actually get into the Naruto versus Orochimaru fight, which is honestly, it's honestly kind of ridiculous. Like I said, the series is sort of jumping the shark by this point, where basically this battle between these two characters is just it's just mostly a lot of big explosions, and it's just from Naruto and leveling entire fields, where this is a show about ninjas who destroy entire fields of landscapes, and it's stealthy as fuck, right? But yeah, anyway, Sakura's character, she's not particularly interesting in this arc. It's just again, in the last arc, the Kazekage retrieval arc, she's pretty cool and it's actually pretty useful, but she just goes back to being pretty useless again in this arc, where basically she basically gets swatted like a fly against the Nine Tails, and it's just her not really being useful in that aspect, her not really doing anything against Sasuke, basically just being stunned at his sexy new stripper outfit, which yeah, it's kind of weird that Sasuke is dressed as a stripper now, but hey, I respect it. I think men should be able to dress as strippers and not be judged. But yeah, and anyway, I don't know, here's the whole problem with me. This arc is basically, when it's not focused on, Sasuke, it's focused on, the appearance of the Foundation, which is, this sort of shadow organization, kind of like the CIA in real life in America, where, it's this organization that works in the shadows, doing very dirty methods to keep the Leaf Village safe, but it's just, why wasn't there more, foreshadowing to the existence of this Foundation beforehand? Because it just feels like it comes out of nowhere in this arc, so that's something I have a problem with. The other thing is, we don't even get to see Sasuke fight Naruto in this arc. He just, basically shows all the characters up with his speed, and, he's, super powerful now, but then he just, leaves with Orochimaru, making this whole arc feel kind of pointless. It just didn't really feel like it had much of a point to it. It built up the character of Sai and Yamato, sort of, but they don't really even amount to much in the end, so, I don't know, this whole arc with them going to find Sasuke and him just leaving in the end, just, feels kind of pointless to me. Yeah, so yeah, not really the biggest fan of this arc, honestly. Didn't really like it very much. So that's what I thought of the second Sasuke retrieval arc, or the Tenchi Bridge arc. Now we get into some filler, the filler arc known as the 12 Guardian Ninja arc, and honestly, it's really weird. I surprisingly don't hate this filler arc. I actually felt like it was kind of good, honestly. You know, this whole arc, it is filler and like doesn't never happens in the manga, but it actually did feel like it kind of mattered, surprisingly. We're getting to know more about like the character of Asuma, which made his death feel even more impactful. We're getting he's getting more focus. We also got to know more stuff about the Land of Fire, which we almost never do in this series. Like, because it's so strange because this series is so hyper-focused on, like, shinobi that I kind of forgot that there was an actual, like, government with a king and stuff. Like, so that's just kind of strange to me that it isn't, like, focused more focus more on in the series, where like the series is so dead focused on like the shinobi and everything going on around them, but like there's other aspects of this world that don't often get explored, and that was kind of cool for me in this arc, honestly, where we got to sort of learn more about that stuff. And like the other thing is, this filler arc is long, and like it's the longest filler arc so far, where like previously in previous episodes, where like the longest you would go with a filler arc is like 8 episodes, but in this episode, in this filler arc, like, it's definitely the longest so far, where it's, like, I think it's around 15 episodes, and that's cool, because it means there's, like, you would think that, like, that's a bad thing, because, it's an even longer filler, but at the same time, like, that means there is more time to, like, flesh things out, and the stakes are definitely somewhat high in this filler arc, where basically there's this whole attack on the Leaf Village that happens, where the dead are, like, being raised as zombies, and Tsunade almost gets assassinated, and it really does feel like the stakes are actually, like, high, and things are really happening in this filler arc, even though, obviously, it doesn't really have that much significance in the end, but, yeah, I do think there's, like, this filler arc is interesting to me, and I do kind of like watching it, but I feel like there is a lot of wasted potential in this arc, though, and while entertaining, the arc didn't really, like I said before, it didn't really amount to much in the end. Like, Sora, the character of Sora being, like, another version of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki makes no sense. Like, how did he become the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, which basically, like, there were these characters gathering up all these chakra after the Nine-Tails attacked, like, it makes no sense, but, yeah, and it's also especially hilarious that Sora is, like, another Nine-Tails, because we find out that in the future that there is another Nine-Tails, version, in the, Minato, who is also, like, half of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, but there's also this third half of Sora who is introduced in this filler, which just makes no sense, but yeah, like, the other thing, I feel like there's a missed opportunity in this arc, because, like, and also there's these other two Nine-Tails Jinchuriki that we find out in the future, who are, like, Kinkaku and Ginkaku, who they're Nine-Tails Jinchuriki as well, and so it's like, what, I'm a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh, it's just like, you're a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, he's a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, I'm a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, are there any more Nine-Tails Jinchuriki I should know about? Like, seriously, it's just like, but going back to, like, how I feel like this filler arc was wasted in the end, like, why wasn't Sora just used in place of Kinkaku and Ginkaku to create the, 10 Tails in the war arc? Like, it doesn't really make any sense to me, because, like, you have this character who's, like, sort of fleshed out in this arc, who has part of the Nine Tails in him, and then, like, you don't ever reference him again, like, you just have, what's his name, Obito, like, using Kinkaku and Ginkaku, two of the worst fucking characters ever, to, obviously that's what happened in the manga, but you have a chance to actually use the filler that you created to, like, enhance the story later, and it's just, like, that would actually be a clever use of filler, but you don't do it, like, it's just, bothersome, so, yeah, anyway, I don't understand, like, why wasn't Sora, rather than being just another Nine-Tails, why wasn't Sora, like, the Two Tails? Like, it would have been nice if we had actually gotten some more focus for, like, the other tailed beast outside of, like, the first tailed beast and the 8th tailed beast and the 9th tailed beast, rather than just them being captured, like, mostly off-screen by the Akatsuki. It's just so weird, because you have, like, all these interesting designs for all the Jinchuriki, but, like, tons of them don't really get any focus in the first place, so, yeah. So, yeah, I thought this arc was good, but it did sort of have, like, I don't know, didn't really, again, it is filler, so it doesn't really matter much in the end, and, like, even though there are parts where it could have mattered, but I did still find the arc, sort of interesting, so, yeah, that's basically what I thought of this, filler. Also, one thing I gotta mention about this arc is there's this female villain in the arc named, Fuka, who kisses Naruto in this arc, and, she might possibly have been integral in my sexual awakening. Just wanted to put that out there. Yeah. Moving on, we get to the third arc of this of Shippuden, and part 2, the Team 10 arc, and I really love this arc. It's definitely great. It's really, this arc is definitely, it moves pretty fast. It doesn't drag much outside of the first few episodes, which do sort of go on a while. But basically, Shikamaru is the focus of this arc. So, of course it's great. It has Shikamaru in it. So, but anyway, so basically what happens is these characters, these Akatsuki called Hidan and Kakuzu, they're basically what the characters are going up against. And loved the first fight against Hidan and Kakuzu, and basically everything going on with that fight was really cool with Shikamaru doing his strategy and actually basically taking down Hidan, and with of course Kakuzu came into the end, who's a much stronger opponent than Hidan, that they weren't able to handle, and basically Hidan basically kills Asuma, which, of course, obviously an incredibly tragic death with him dying. And that was great. And, seeing him, his team members, having to say goodbye to him, just really great, really emotional. Definitely one of the most iconic deaths in this series. Also, what's also going on in this arc is basically Naruto's training to use wind style. Where basically that was really cool, where he was, sort of, we sort of saw it before with, the starting of the previous filler arc, where it was sort of integrated with that, where Naruto was, basically using Asuma's, help for him, training to use, wind style, and it was pretty cool, definitely, and the Rasen Shuriken is definitely a pretty creative attack that he invented. Again, I just want to point out that Sakura, I think, is a very underutilized with her. I don't understand how big of it's just such a big missed opportunity for Sakura not to learn Genjutsu from Kurenai. It's said that Sakura is a Genjutsu type, and she can but she never learns Genjutsu, and she has the opportunity because Sasuke basically seeks out the help of Kakashi to train, and Naruto seeks out the help of Asuma to train. Why didn't Sakura ever seek out Kurenai to learn how to learn how to use Genjutsu? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's the biggest missed opportunity for her characters. It's oh my gosh, so annoying. Anyways, this arc was really great, and I absolutely love episode 82 of this arc. Episode 82 of Shippuden, where basically it's so goddamn beautiful. There's this whole one-take sequence where Shikamaru is playing this basically chess game with his dad, and each move is animated uniquely, and it just builds and builds in their conversation while they're playing the chess game, where basically it boils over until Shikamaru's anger finally comes out, and he lashes out at his dad, where usually he's just this very unemotional character, and he finally deals with the death of Asuma and lashing out against dad. And it's just oh my gosh, it's so goddamn beautiful. And I love that episode and how brilliantly it was animated. It just looks so beautiful. And so loved episode 82. And then of course from there basically it goes into the second fight against the Akatsuki and Hidan and Kakuzu, and which is also a really great fight too. I wish Choji and Ino did more in the fight against the Akatsuki. It seems basically all the focus is on Shikamaru, basically, where him basically taking out Hidan almost single-handedly, and that's really great, and I liked it, but I did feel his other teammates, Ino and Choji, did get shafted a bit. They didn't do as much as they possibly could have been. Again, that climax where Shikamaru outsmarts Hidan and defeats him single-handedly, it's just so amazing, and the point where Naruto comes in at the end, and basically him using the Rasen Shuriken to finally defeat Kakuzu, it's definitely amazing, especially with how the music builds to it all in the end. It's definitely this is one of the best arcs easily. It has a really great focus on Shikamaru, a side character. Shikamaru, a side character who is just one of the best characters in the series easily, and this arc is definitely sort of focused around him, where he's basically the main character, and it's just it's really cool. I really love this arc. I really love the villains. Kakuzu he's definitely. He's not really the most complex villain or interesting, but he definitely has a really interesting power set. And of course, Hidan. Hidan is one of the most entertaining characters in this series. I loved a lot of the comedy in this him. I was saying before, I don't like the comedy in this series. There is some legitimately good comedy, but it's just some other comedy is just some of it is really cringe, but some of it, like, for example, from Hidan, it's just, like, really funny with his reactions to everything. But, yeah, so I definitely really liked, the Team 10 arc. I think it's one of the best arcs in the series. So, yeah, that's what I thought about it. Alright, now we get into yet another filler arc, the, Three Tails arc, and, honestly, this arc is somewhat interesting, like, because, like, like I was saying before, I wish the show did give more focus to these, like, other tailed beasts that exist in the series and the Jinchuriki, and, like, technically this one doesn't have anything to do with the Jinchuriki, because, like, the three-tailed is obviously, it's not within a Jinchuriki, but, it is more interesting giving more focus to the tailed beasts, which I like, honestly, it is a good use of filler, like, it's, sort of focusing on something that actually matters to the plot that's being told, unlike previous fillers, but, I don't think I like this arc as much as the previous filler arc where with the 12 Guardian Shinobi. I don't, because, like, here's the thing, I don't really know if I understand Orochimaru's plan. Like, basically he's trying to get the power of the Three Tails, but, like, he's using this small child named Yukimaru who has the ability to control it, kind of. But, like, he's using this woman named Gurin to manipulate his emotions, and this is like I don't know, it doesn't really seem to be the best plan in the end, since Orochimaru, like, totally fails, like, he isn't successful at all in, like, capturing the Three Tails, and using it, again, this arc is definitely a higher quality filler than this series is used to. Like, there are some legitimately interesting parts of the Three Tails arc. Like, for example, there are these characters tagging along with Gurin, who they're basically her henchmen, and they're Orochimaru's experiments. And, it's kind of interesting seeing these characters who are, like, Orochimaru's experiments. And, like, they're somewhat interesting characters, and I like some of their movesets and how they contribute to the arc. But I don't know, it's just, like, the main filler characters that are introduced in this, Gurin and Yukimaru, I don't know, I didn't really find them to be that interesting in the end. Like, they sort of had this whole dynamic where, they sort of grew to care for each other in the end. That's sort of, I don't know, that's sort of fine, but I didn't find them that interesting in the end. I don't know. But there is something that is pretty cool about this arc, is that a lot of the side characters from the Hidden Leaf Village, they do get a chance to shine in this arc and actually contribute to the mission. And I feel like that is definitely one of the things I can say about the filler in this series, is that, like, it does sort of give other characters a chance to shine at points, and, like, give more side characters a chance to actually do stuff and have focus, which, that is sort of cool, because in the main series, they just don't get as much focus, the main canon material from the manga. So, that is something that I really wish this arc, though, like, I feel like the Three Tails arc is, it's sort of a wasted opportunity, because, like, I wish it had focused more on, like, the politics of the situation, with, like, obviously the Hidden Mist would have probably wanted to retrieve the Three Tails as well, and I feel like we didn't really, I don't know, it's just weird to me that, like, we didn't really get much history about, like, how the Three Tails was, like, released in the first place, where it used to be, like, the, in the Jinchuriki, that used to be, like, the third Mizukage, and, like, I don't understand why we didn't really get a bunch of information about that, because obviously it's important to the narrative, with, like, Obito controlling the third Mizukage, and, like, I don't know, I feel like this arc would have definitely been more interesting if we focused on more of the political side of it, with maybe, like, the, Hidden Mist, like, being worried about, like, the Village Hidden Leaves kind of trying to steal the Three Tails away from them, just, like, everything. There could have been a lot of potential with the series to, like, have a lot of interesting stuff in it, but, I don't know, I just feel like it wasn't as interesting as it could have been. I wish Orochimaru had played a bigger part, because he's, like, sort of he's a really cool villain, really entertaining, even if his plans, like I said, his plan doesn't really make a ton of sense in this arc. His plan to, like, have his arms healed by Tsunade didn't really make sense before. So he's a cool villain, but just not the brightest of plans, I would say. But yeah, this arc could have been really cool, but I don't think it was necessarily utilized to its full potential. So yeah, it's also kind of hilarious to me how, like, there's all this effort spent on trying to seal the Ten Tails throughout this, like, 15 plus episode arc, and, like, in the end, Deidara just comes in the end and basically completely incapacitates it immediately, and it's just like, oh, there's all this effort to seal this thing, and just, like, Deidara comes in the end and just, like, defeats it effortlessly. So yeah, that's something that bothers me a bit, but yeah, that was what I thought of the filler arc, the Three Tails arc. So yeah. Alright, now we get into the fourth arc of part 2, the Sasuke Revenge arc. Another arc that doesn't have Naruto as the main focus, and honestly, it's fantastic. I really love this arc. The Sasuke Revenge arc is definitely one of the best arcs in the series. It starts off with a bang, with Sasuke just straight up killing Orochimaru within the first 2 episodes, and it's just like, this was something I was wondering too. Like, was Sasuke just okay with letting Orochimaru steal his body? And like, apparently no, because he just straight up murks the guy when he's in his weakened state. And I really like that because it shows how like basically, because obviously Sasuke was like concerned about Orochimaru, because sorry, not Orochimaru, his brother Itachi, because he thought his brother Itachi was like this terrible person that he needed to kill to make the world a better place. But he realized that Orochimaru like wasn't any better than Itachi, so he was just like, I'm gonna get rid of you too. So that was really cool, and I just love how this arc just starts out with Sasuke killing Orochimaru immediately. So that was really cool. Sasuke also picks up a pretty cool team. Like, I love Suigetsu. He's just a really entertaining character. I love Jugo. He's just like this really genuine character who also has this like split personality disorder where he has also a really violent side, which is pretty interesting. So I like them. I wish they actually did stuff in this. I wish they did more stuff in this Sasuke Revenge arc, because like it's so weird, because Sasuke basically gets these characters to basically help him in his quest for revenge against Itachi, but in the end, they don't really do much. They don't really do much for him in his quest to get revenge against Itachi. So that's kind of, bothersome. Anyway, the one thing I will say, Karin is pretty annoying. Like, she has this obsession with Sasuke, because like apparently all the women in this world are obsessed with Sasuke. Like, it's just like, he literally gets flirted on by like every single woman he meets, and it's just like ridiculous, because like, I mean, yeah, sure, Sasuke is like hot, but like, he's not that hot. Like, I mean, just like, tell me, ladies and gay men, like, is Sasuke the perfect specimen of man meat? Like, I want to know, because it's like every single female character is like obsessed with Sasuke in this series. It's like, well, what the hell? Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I joke, but Sasuke's actually pretty likable in this arc. Like, he's out for because he's out for revenge against man who the audience but at the time believes is like pure evil, and he's like acting like because Sasuke's acting like pretty righteously, honestly. Like, he's doing all these cool stuff, like freeing Orochimaru's prisoners and like abiding by a no-killing rule outside of Itachi. So Sasuke is honestly pretty interesting, pretty likable throughout this whole arc. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So basically, the other thing that's weird is like I said before, I was talking about before how like the Obito flashbacks and like with the Kakashi Chronicles, they're placed in such a weird space where they're like placed in between this arc, like for no reason really. Whereas I feel like they should have just been implemented into where like where before, where Kakashi was talking about Sasuke about revenge and how people who abandon their friends are worse than some, and that would have been like a good place to place the flashbacks where Kakashi was talking to Sasuke about that. But for some reason, they just placed them completely randomly here. I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, sure, it's cool to see, like, Kakashi's backstory and, like, foreshadowing to Obito's character. But, like, why was it placed here of all places during, in an arc that has fuck all to do with Kakashi? It just doesn't make any sense. So, that does bother me. Anyway. And so, also, I still call bullshit on the fact that Obito survived. Like, how? And, like, how did his Sharingan still remain intact when he was, like, crushed? That half the body was, like, crushed by a rock. It doesn't make any sense. But, yeah. So, no idea why it's sandwiched between the Sasuke retrieval arc and Obito. Have no idea how he survived, but whatever. And, back to the program, though. Basically, the Leaf assembles a team to hunt down Sasuke. And, I don't know. Here's the thing. Here's one thing I will criticize about the arc, where I feel like it was this missed opportunity where it could have been cool if like the Leaf Village had actually caught up to Sasuke and his team at some point, and like a fight broke out against where it would have been cool because like it would have been a cool chance to see Sasuke's henchmen demonstrate their abilities and their power against the Hidden Leaf Ninja, and like it could have been this cool thing where basically Sasuke fights because here's the thing, we never saw a rematch between Rock Lee and Sasuke, even though Rock Lee wanted to fight Sasuke, and it sort of also would have been cool to see Sasuke fight Neji as well, because they're like the two really talented guys. Where like we could have sort of seen how far Sasuke had come, where him like definitely surpassing Neji and like being able to trounce him in combat. That would have been really cool to see a fight between Sasuke and Rock Lee and Neji. So I don't know. It felt like a missed opportunity where we see the Leaf Ninja, sort of going to chase down Sasuke. But again, we never see a fight between them, so that is something that bothers me. But anyway, basically, going back to what actually happens, Sasuke's fight against Deidara is definitely pretty cool. It had a lot of really great moments and battle tactics. I don't understand why Deidara didn't just, like, immediately use a village-leveling bomb to destroy the whole area like he did against Gaara. Like, again, he has all this incredible power, but he's using these, like, tactical bomb strikes. I don't understand it. It's just, like, yeah, sort of feels like Kishimoto was, like, written into a corner with making this character, like, these incredibly, like, powerful bombs that he's able to use, but he just, like, uses more of tactical strikes against Sasuke in this fight, so don't really understand that, but again, it's still a really cool fight. I love Deidara, I love his abilities, so, and again, the fight against Sasuke is great, so, yeah, I love that. Anyway, then we get back to Sasuke, and basically after that, Sasuke recovers somewhat, but then he gets to his actual fight against Itachi, and, but not before we get more flashbacks of the Uchiha clan being slaughtered. Like, Christ, guys, we get it. Like, you don't have to keep flashing back to the Uchiha being slaughtered over and over again. We've already seen the flashback. Like, maybe just a short, like, 20-second clip of, like, some of the stuff we've seen before. You don't need to show the entire fucking thing again. It's just like, oh my gosh. Because they repeat the Uchiha being slaughtered flashbacks so many times. Like, we get it. Oh my gosh. You don't have to repeat it, like, so many fucking times. Oh my gosh. But anyway, getting to the actual fight between Itachi and Sasuke, like, it's definitely really good and really well animated, and it's unbelievably intense too. With like, because at the moment we feel like Sasuke is really in trouble because his brother is like legitimately, because like Itachi is like threatening to steal Sasuke's eyes, and like by the time Sasuke gets his chakra pulled down to zero, like Orochimaru comes out of the curse mark, and it's just like everything about this fight is just so incredibly fucking intense. It's just like Itachi seems incredibly terrifying when we see him in this battle, and it's just like of course then Sasuke does he doesn't end up winning, but Itachi does die, and then we get to the reveal with the Itachi twist, which is just like the Itachi twist in this series is like brilliant. It's definitely one of the best twists I have ever seen, because it's just like it changes everything we thought we knew about Itachi's character, where he was actually like this complete scumbag who did these like horrible things for basically no real reason at all, and then we see how he was actually like sort of fighting to protect the Leaf Village the entire time. It's just like it changes everything we thought we knew about Itachi's character, and like completely turns the narrative on its head. And it's like, but it's so brilliant too, because like while it completely turns around everything we thought we knew about Itachi, while also making total sense upon rewatch, because like things like, Itachi running away from Jiraiya, even though he would have probably been able to, defeat Jiraiya. And, like, all the stuff happening with the flashbacks where we see, like, him talking about, the clan has become, arrogant and stuff. And we realize, again, we realize how... Because it really does feel like this whole thing with Itachi slaughtering the Uchiha clan and him actually being a good guy all along, and it just feels like this whole twist was planned from the beginning. When you go back and watch, everything that happened, like noticing these little details that you didn't before, and it's just like it's so great, and obviously it's really impactful for Sasuke's character, because it sort of in the end sort of ends up turning him against the village hidden leaves. And like a lot of people say like, why did Sasuke like go against everything his brother stood for when he like learned how he was actually a good guy in the end. And but again, I understand how it definitely wasn't the smartest, most rational decision for Sasuke to make the decision that he did to go against the Hidden Leaf, but like you have to understand, like it was a logical decision for his character to make, because this entire time he thought he was like fighting against this incredibly evil person, Itachi, his brother, who like did all these horrible things. But then he realized that basically the Hidden Leaf made him do these things and like slaughter his family. So obviously he's always been this person who was out for revenge. So when he realized that his brother, killing him wasn't the satisfaction that he thought he was, he was moving on to bigger targets of revenge and basically targeting the Hidden Leaf and trying to destroy it. So, yeah, I really liked that aspect of his character, honestly. I thought it was really cool. And, again, it's interesting because you don't expect that to happen, but it also does sort of make sense for him to, like, sort of go against the Hidden Leaf and become more of a villain. So, anyway, yeah. So, anyway, I'm gonna include the fight against the Eight Tails in this arc, because it sort of just does... And before getting into the stuff in part 3, it sort of is the last part we get to with Sasuke's character, and like the fight against the Eight Tails is pretty great. I love how it seems like B is just gonna go down and get captured by the Akatsuki, like basically all of the other tailed beasts, but then he just goes fucking ham on Sasuke and like completely annihilates him, beats the living shit out of Sasuke, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this character is like fucking fucking like incredible in what he's able to accomplish. So yeah, and basically he escaped, and like basically he doesn't even get captured. He just escapes capture in the end because he's like just that much of a savage. You know, B is. So that was really cool. I really like the fight against the Eight Tails. So yeah, and also the other thing that's great about this arc is that there's like almost no padding. Like I said, you know, there's more flashbacks to the Uchiha, so that's really terrible. But like again, for the most part, this arc has almost no padding in it, so that's great, and it you know moves really fast. All this story happening. So yeah, that's really cool, and I really like the Sasuke Revenge arc. I really think it's definitely one of the best arcs in the series. So yeah, definitely really like this arc. So that's what I thought about it. Then we get to the fifth arc of the part 2, the Jiraiya arc. Now, technically speaking, this arc is like this arc is sandwiched in between the Sasuke Revenge arc, but I'm just going to be talking about it separately because I feel like I should talk about it separately because, like, yeah, again, I don't really understand why like Sasuke's arc was sort of sandwiched in between other arcs, and it's just like it sort of breaks up the flow. But either way, let's talk about the Jiraiya arc, where you know, this arc is honestly great. It's yet another arc that doesn't have Naruto as the main focus. Weirdly, all the best arcs of this series surprisingly have a stunning lack of Naruto in them. How interesting. I mean, like, Naruto is a good character, honestly, but it's just like, it feels like when you go sort of outside the realms of, like, focus on him and focusing on side characters, it does feel like the series definitely does pay off, and it's like, wish they did more of that, honestly, but, yeah. Anyway, yeah, like I said before, this arc is great. It starts out with flashbacks to Jiraiya's time during the last Great Ninja War, and they're honestly some of the best flashbacks in the series. Like, you know, the flashbacks with Jiraiya in the war, it really gives you a great insight into Jiraiya's character and his whole philosophy of, like, seeing all this war happening in the world and him wanting to try to do something about it and find this person who's going to change it. And I really like that aspect of his character and insight into it. And also, these flashbacks do really show, like, just how horrible war is in this fictional world. You know, how horrible it can truly be with him finding these orphans who their parents were killed, and like, you know, Orochimaru just saying, hey, these kids, should I kill them? Because, like, we've seen so many orphans in this world, like, it would just be better to put them out of their misery. It's just like, this flashbacks really give you a sense of just how, like, bad everything was with, like, these wars, with, like, all these villages and, like, these civilians being caught in the middle. So it's just like, it's really great to see, just, like, it really does give a very realistic and heartbroken depiction of, like, war. Too bad the fourth Great Ninja War barely showed any of this, and like these civilians being affected and all these horrors, like basically with almost no one of the main characters dying in that war and no innocents were caught up in the battle. Like, Kishimoto, what the hell? Like, you know, my writing is evolving, but backwards. Like, seriously, you had this like great way of portraying the last Ninja War, and like then you just go to or hold on, was it the second Ninja War? I think it might have been the second Ninja War that there were, whichever war. Like, it was really cool to see it in flashbacks and really seeing how it was portrayed very horribly, obviously. But then we get to the fourth Great Ninja War, and it's just like very low stakes, very low tension. Doesn't really get any innocents caught up in the middle. So that just really, fourth Great Ninja War was just not written very well, honestly. But we'll get to that anyway. This arc, the Jiraiya arc, is pretty short. I think it's about like 7 episodes. But again, it's really cool because it doesn't drag anything out. It just gets right to the point where, you know, Jiraiya infiltrates the Hidden Rain Village, and it's really cool. And again, his fight against the Pains, this is honestly like such an iconic fight. Just so incredible. Like, the introduction to Pain is also amazing. Like, you know, him just being introduced as a character, like having all these powers and mystery behind him, and like, you know, and of course the reveal that Toby is like Madara fucking Uchiha, like, allegedly anyway. Of course, we find out he's not Madara Uchiha. But anyway, that reveal that he was like, you know, Madara Uchiha, that just like completely amazed me when I first watched it. Like, oh my gosh, this character who's like a comic relief character, he turns out to be like the main fucking villain. Like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And like, it's sort of like what they could have done with you know, all those theories about how Jar Jar Binks is secretly like a Sith Lord. Like, it's sort of like, this is sort of like seeing what they actually could have done with Jar Jar's character. Like, seeing how, you know, this Toby character, like, seems like he's a comic relief guy. It's just like really annoying. Then it turns out to be like Madara Uchiha. That's really great. Honestly, a really great reveal, even though obviously we find out he isn't Madara Uchiha, he's Obito. But yeah, still a really great reveal. Yeah, and again, fight against Pain is just like so incredibly great. The way they use his powers and like the mystery behind him is just awesome. And like I mean, what I really like about this arc, the Jiraiya arc, is like they took a character that I didn't really even care about before, because I didn't really even like Jiraiya as a character before. Like, he just sort of got on my nerves a lot of the time, and he just sort of had all these perverted antics. Like I said before, talking about part one, like there's this really creepy moment where Jiraiya is like talking about how Naruto has quite a tight and sexy body, and it's like that was really creepy. But honestly, I really liked him in this arc. I really like Jiraiya. Like, he's I didn't even really care about him before, but he's awesome in this arc, and he's like a really likable character, and we get all these insights into him. So yeah, and he had one of the saddest deaths in the series, like even rivaling Asuma. I think what makes Asuma's death more tragic is that you know, Asuma, you know, he died for like almost no reason at all, where Jiraiya sort of does get this information about pain, and plus, you know, Asuma's team was there to see him die, so I think that is more tragic. But in the end, you know, Jiraiya's death just very iconic, really good, and you know, just overall, just a really great arc. I really liked it. So yeah, that's what I thought of the Jiraiya arc. Anyway, then we get to another filler arc, which is the Six Tails arc. So basically, this arc deals with the Six Tails Jinchuriki named Utakata, and I honestly remember more about the Seven Tails Jinchuriki from a filler arc way later than this guy. Like, I don't know, it's just like Utakata. He's like not super engaging. I don't know. I just didn't really you know, jive with his character too much. You know, I can't honestly. Here's the thing about the Six Tails arc. I honestly can't remember too many details about this arc. So I don't know. It's probably pretty boring if I don't remember too much about it. But like I again, like I said before, I do like that they are trying to give more focus to the tailed beasts and Jinchuriki in the anime, whereas like again, they sort of got skipped over in the manga. But like, it just, I don't know, it just does feel like a filler with, again, like Pain basically showing up in the end and just capturing Utakata without breaking a sweat. It just feels like, you know, you build up his entire character and then he just gets captured by Pain in the end. So that sort of bothersome. Basically the whole plot is that there's this thing with this girl named Hotaru, who has some kind of sealing jutsu in her that like you know, and sort of Utakata relates to her, I guess, you know, with him having like you know, obviously the Six Tails sealed inside him, and he can relate to how basically she was forced to like take on this whole sealing jutsu inside her, and you know, how she was basically forced into it, and like I don't know, it's whatever. I mean, I'm going to be honest, my memory for filler episodes significantly decreases past this point. Like, again, I've watched every episode of Naruto once, but when I was going to rewatch the series, I like couldn't get the episodes in dub past the Sasuke revenge arc. So basically, because I like watching the dub, I've watched like all the series. I've watched all the episodes to that point, the Sasuke revenge arc, where basically it's after he kills his brother. But like on Hulu, they don't have the dub past that point. I like watching the dub. So basically, you know, I've watched reaction videos to the rest of the series to basically catch up to, you know, to be able to talk about it. But that's only for non-filler. So like, again, the actual filler in my mind, you know, my memory for it definitely decreases because I haven't rewatched it. So that is a problem. But like I said before, I don't remember a ton about this filler arc, which I don't know. It's just I don't know. Also, I find it real hilarious too, where basically there's this whole, in the fight against the fake Madara that happens much later in the war arc with the Infinite Tsukuyomi arc, where basically in the whole fight, there's this whole episode where Naruto is like talking to Utakata about, you know, obviously he sees Utakata after you know, he's brought back through the reanimation jutsu, and it's like kind of funny because like people must have been really confused if they skipped this filler, because there's this whole arc where Naruto is talking to this character who, like, if you skip all the filler, you never really see. So yeah, there's like, oh, who the hell is this guy? I've never seen him before. Why is Naruto talking like he's known him? But you know, obviously we have seen him in filler, so it's like it is cool that they're like integrating him and like seeing Naruto talk with him in the future, where he meets him again after he's been revived by the reanimation jutsu. But it also must have been just really confusing for people who had never watched the filler and just skipped it. So like so that is kind of interesting. But yeah, that's what I thought about the Six Tails arc. Moving on, though, we finally get into talking about the sixth and final arc of Naruto Part 2, which is the Pain arc. And this arc is really great, and ironically, Naruto has the main focus in it. So congratulations, people. We found an arc where Naruto is the main focus, and it's honestly really great. But yeah, anyway, basically, so what happens is Naruto gets the news that Jiraiya has died, and his reaction to his death, like, it is just so incredibly heartbreaking and incredible. Just, oh my gosh, that seems so emotional. But yeah, anyway, basically, what happens after that is basically they're trying to crack this code that Jiraiya left, and it's just like the whole process to uncover Jiraiya's secret code was pretty interesting. I still find it very strange and unbelievable that Jiraiya was able to create a like 200 IQ secret code within seconds, where he was on his deathbed, and it's like I don't know, it's just like that's just very, very odd to me, especially since Jiraiya isn't supposed to be like the smartest guy. So it's just but yeah, like that was very strange to me. But the process of trying to uncover it was still interesting. Naruto's training to master Sage Mode is pretty cool, but you know, it is just again, it is just weird that he was able to become a better sage than Jiraiya, since he's like you know, he's a super spaz, and it feels like you know, the whole Sage Mode thing is basically based around you standing still, and like one of the things Naruto can't do is like stand still. So it feels like, I don't know, it feels like some other people who are maybe calmer might have been better suited to mastering Sage Mode rather than him. So I don't know, just very strange. But here's my problem though. Like, Naruto's training is somewhat interesting, but like the problem is Naruto basically uses shadow clones to solve every single problem he encounters. Where basically, you know, he can't use he can't use the frogs to basically gather Sage Mode energy for him. So he has to use the shadow clones to basically gather Sage Mode energy instead, which he sort of gets when he releases the shadow clones. And that's interesting, kind of, but like he just uses shadow clones for everything. Like he uses shadow clones to master the Rasengan technique. He uses shadow clones to like train with wind style. He uses shadow clones to use Sage Jutsu. He's just like, he fucking spams shadow clones nonstop to solve every single problem he has. When, like, again, him being able to use shadow clones in the first place is just ridiculous that he was able to master like such a Jonin level technique in like a day or a night, or it's just like kind of ridiculous the first thing. He just uses shadow clones for everything, which does sort of bother me. But yeah, anyway, like I love how this arc basically it just goes from 0 to 100 incredibly quickly, because Pain just suddenly like arrives in a Leaf Village and just attacks immediately and starts killing everyone. So that's like he just starts wrecking everyone's shit, and I just like love how suddenly he appears, and it's like the arc really gets started really quickly. So that's really cool. Anyway, the fights against him are great, and there's an incredible amount of tension, because like a bunch of characters are just dying left and right against Pain, and just like really gives you a sense that, oh my gosh, this guy is so fucking powerful, and it's like, it's so incredible. Like all these characters are dying again. Like it's so strange, because like more characters die in this arc than in the war arc, basically. Like where basically there's just like an incredible lack of tension, where in this arc there's like an incredible amount of tension, because it just like feels like, oh my gosh, all these characters are dying, Kakashi's dying, all these other characters are dying, oh my gosh, crazy. Like so yeah, really like this arc, and really like how tension filled it is throughout the whole thing. You know, a lot of really emotional moments in this arc, like you know, like I said before, Kakashi's death, like him sort of getting to see his dad in the afterlife, sort of, where he's sort of in between worlds, and that was really great. You know, Tsunade's, you know, the power to believe speech, like that was really good. A little corny, but you know, it definitely works in the situations put in. One thing I will say, I don't understand why, like, why couldn't you have had Sakura defeat some of the Pains, like, or at least one of them? Like, it's fucking Konohamaru defeats one of the Pains, and he's like 11 years old, whereas Sakura, like, she just doesn't really, she barely does anything in this arc. It's just like really frustrating, because like, again, she started out so strongly in the first arc of Shippuden, where basically she's like doing all this cool stuff and being really useful, but again, she doesn't even like take down one of the Pains in this arc, where when she very clearly could have, where like basically Sakura, you know, she could have fought against the Pain who you know, basically absorbs ninjutsu, where, you know, her style of combat is focused on taijutsu, so she could have done something against him, and like actually done something to contribute against the fight against the Pain, but she just doesn't. It's just like such a fucking wasted opportunity. So that really bothered me. But yeah, anyway, also I gotta say, like Pain, he's just stealthy as fuck, the way he completely demolished the village hidden in the leaves with a show of strength, like basically demolishing it from the sky, and like you know, very, very stealthy Pain. You know, this is a show about ninjas, apparently. Just very stealthy, like very, very stealthy, very strongly, very stealthy. Anyway, so then we actually get into basically after Pain destroys the Leaf Village in like incredibly iconic scene, even though it's just not very ninja like, but yeah, incredibly iconic scene where he just destroys the entire Leaf Village, just giving you such a great glimpse into his incredible power. But basically, then we get into the Naruto's fight against the Pains, which is like, honestly, Naruto's fight against Pain is the best fight in the series. Like, I'm just gonna say it. Like, the battle tactics are amazing. The emotion, the way it just dragged out to its conclusion. Like, the fight is very dragged out by the end, but it's, like, good because, like, you know, it's a good way of having it dragged out because it just feels like, oh my gosh, like, the characters are, like, so tired by the end where it just, like, feels like, you know, I like the fact it's dragged out. I like the fact that, you know, it has all these things going on and it's just, like, Naruto just gives everything to defeat Pain in the end. So, yeah, really like that. Just really like everything about this fight. It's just like so incredible and so many iconic moments. Naruto's introduction where he just like arrives in the Leaf Village, just destroys that one Pain effortlessly before it's obviously you know, brought back to life. Which just really everything about this fight is so cool. And like you know, the Ninetales versus Pain fight had some. It had some wonky animation for sure. Like definitely things like, did seem like a Looney Tunes cartoon at a time, but it was still very impressive. Like, people say, oh, the animation was so horrible in that episode. Like, it really wasn't. It was very, it felt sort of out of place, but it definitely wasn't, like, horrible animation. Like, it was very good animation. Like, a lot of things were really happening. You can tell, like, tons of effort was put in that fight. It just, maybe it could have looked less like a Looney Tunes cartoon, but it just still, like, it was still very impressive, and it had a lot of, pretty cool moments in it. So, yeah, I still like the the Ninetales versus, Pain, you know, fight. Also, the Hinata, you know, sacrificing herself against Pain to basically try to free Naruto. Even though it didn't amount to much in the end, it just still was a really great, incredible moment. And, like, Pain's whole character of him, his, like, attitude of, you know, where he's gotten this sort of mentality of, like, you know, focusing on pain and how people can, you know, relate to each other through pain. And, like, his whole vendetta against the Leaf Village for why he wanted to take revenge against it, for how they basically fucked his entire village with, you know, it's definitely interesting, you know, sort of gets into this idea of how, oh, these, sort of this message about how bigger nations, like, basically prey upon these smaller nations and basically have these proxy wars with them, like, facing the brunt of it. So that was really interesting, and I just really like Pain. He's such an incredibly cool and threatening and complex villain, too. So, yeah, like, love, I also love Naruto's line at the end of his fight with Pain, where it's like, just give up on trying to make me give up. Just love that line. It's just such an incredible way to end the fight. Again, the fourth Hokage reveal was not really much of a reveal. I mean, how did people not figure out that Naruto was Minato's son? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, this random maybe just got, you know, he got the Ninetales seal inside of him. Except for, you know, he looks exactly like the fourth Hokage, and like he coincidentally was born at the exact same time where the fourth Hokage's wife got pregnant and was going to have the baby. And it's just like, oh my gosh, how did no one figure this out? It's just like, I don't understand why from the beginning, like, Naruto just knew who his parents were. I don't understand why the series, like, added, oh, this mystery, who our Naruto's parents are. Like, he never questioned that. He never, like, I don't understand that. When the series just had it be from the beginning and that Naruto knew he was the fourth Hokage's son, I just don't understand it. But anyway, so for whatever reason, after Naruto defeats Pain, there are these 2 filler episodes about a flashback to the Chunin exams where Naruto is going on this goose chase to find the fourth Hokage's legacy. It's boring and pointless. I don't like it. There was no reason for it to be there. So yeah. But anyway, like I said before, Nagato, and by extension Pain, he's a fantastic villain. Just love him. Just love everything about his, like, you know, personality. And his backstory is utterly horrible. Like, seeing all the incredible pain he went through and how it sort of shaped him as a person. And I honestly really do like the resolution to this arc, where how Naruto was basically able to convince Nagato to sort of give up his plan and change his mentality in the end. And I really like that, how, you know, Talk no Jutsu would get much more egregious as the show would get on, and sort of impact would be definitely lessened as Naruto just keep using it against these more irredeemable villains, and like that sort of does bother me as the show does go on. But again, I do think Naruto's Talk no Jutsu does legitimately work here with Nagato, and I think it was a really good resolution with how it tied into the themes of everything about how just really like the resolution of this arc, honestly. It was, like, incredibly emotional, where seeing these 2 different students of the same master, like, sort of come together and in the end come to, where, like, you know, sort of Naruto was sort of changing Nagato's mind and sort of challenging his ideals, but Pain was also sort of challenging Naruto's ideals and sort of letting him know just how much of a difficult road ahead he would have to trying to change the shinobi world, and him Nagato sacrificing himself in the end to sort of try to rectify his mistakes was just really great, really incredibly emotional. I honestly wish that Kakashi had just been brought back, where basically Nagato could have he could have used the Ren Rebirth technique, but only used it on one person, because I just feel like bringing the entire Leaf Village back after watching a bunch of them die, I just feel like that sort of lessens the impact, because sure, the village is still destroyed, but no one actually died in the end, so that sort of does bother me. I feel like there should have been more of a lasting consequences of Nagato attacking the Hidden Leaf Village. So maybe just Kakashi could have been brought back, because he's obviously important in the future. But yeah. Anyway, also there's just a great sense of what I love about this arc is there's just a great sense of finality to it. It really feels I don't know. It just feels like everything is it's just a really great finale where at least from our perspective, before, Nagato is the tactical, he's not the real leader of the Akatsuki, but he's sort of the leader of the Akatsuki that was built up, and seeing him be defeated, seeing the village finally, respect Naruto and celebrate him saving them all. There's such an incredible sense of finality to this arc, and it's just to me, it just really feels like this is where the Naruto series peaked, where this arc and previous arcs where you have above average filler, you have great arcs that didn't drag too much and had a lot of the focus on side characters, and of course this arc focused on Naruto is really great. Part 2 of Naruto is definitely my favorite segment of the show, even though, at parts, it sort of did jump the shark and introduce all these elements of, these incredibly powerful explodey techniques where it just started really getting away from the focus on, the ninja aspects of the series. But, again, it just really good writing, really good stuff. I just really like these arcs, and I think part 2 of Naruto is definitely where the series peaked and has the best stuff in it. So, yeah, that's what I would have to say about Naruto Part 2. I really liked it. I really liked all the arcs in it. I think it had great character writing and, great, very improved animation and music. And just I would say I really enjoyed Naruto Part 2. I think it's definitely the most interesting part of the series for me, and I would say it's pretty good. Now, we are going to get into, later there's going to be a part 2 to this video released pretty soon. I'm going to have to split up the review because it's going on pretty long. It's already gotten to 2 hours by now, and I know from experience that when these videos go too long, it sort of freezes in the editing process where it goes past 2 hours, so I'm not risking it, and I'm going to split it up into 2 to make sure that everything is saved in the editing process. So yeah, that's basically what I'm going to do. So please tune in to probably a day from now, or maybe 2 days, where I'm going to release my part 2 of the review of the Naruto series, where I get into the final stretch talking about Naruto Part 3, which I definitely have quite a few things to say about. So yeah, that's basically it for so in part 1 of my Naruto review, I've talked about part 1 and part 2 of the series. So I'm going to talk about part 3 next time. So please stay tuned for that.